Welcome back to Eurofootball Daily, where today we're looking at 5 players sold or released for unbelievable reasons. Our entries range from the shocking to the plain ridiculous, so stick with it until the end. 5. Lee Clark. Newcastle and Sunderland share one of the most bitterly contested rivalries in world football. The Tyneside derby boils up plenty of emotions, and anyone looking to antagonise the opposing fans should tread very carefully. If only someone had said that to Lee Clark back in 1999. At this point, the former midfielder had already done the unthinkable by switching directly from Newcastle to Sunderland. The Englishman had been a constant figure at St James's Park, appearing over 240 times and featuring in the squad that were infamously pipped to the Premier League title by Manchester United in '96. Clark has since claimed the decision to drop him for David Batty mid-season is what cost the Magpies glory. Joining Sunderland meant taking a step down to the First Division, where he thrived. The Northumberland star scored 13 times across the 97-98 campaign, before helping the Black Cats roar to Premier League promotion with 105 points the following year. But throughout his time at Sunderland, Clark remained a dedicated Newcastle supporter. So much so, he attended the 1999 FA Cup final between the Toon and Manchester United wearing a t-shirt branding an explicit phrase about the people of Sunderland, known as Mackems. This was caught on camera and the photos immediately landed Clark in hot water. His manager at the time, Peter Reid, would later recall his reaction to the images, saying it was obvious to everyone at Sunderland, particularly me, that his time with us would have to be brought to an abrupt end. Our fans wanted him out and there was no way back. True to his word, Clark never played for the club again. Fulham bought the midfielder for £3 million, where he stayed for the next 6 years before having a final swan song with Newcastle United. What followed was a managerial career that started strongly at Huddersfield and Birmingham City, before fizzling out with difficult spells at Bury and Blythe Spartans. But Clark's story isn't quite finished. The 49-year-old has most recently been managing the Sudanese outfit Al Merrikh. However, in March he was sacked just 51 days after returning to the African club for a second time. Who knows where Clark will head next, but rest assured it won't be anywhere near Sunderland. 4. Ahn Jung-hwan. Which player scored the last ever golden goal at a FIFA World Cup? The answer, Ahn Jung-hwan, the South Korean forward who broke Italian hearts back in 2002. His goal is one of the most significant moments in Asian football history, as it sent the South Koreans to the quarter-finals in front of an adoring home crowd, but it also threatened to destroy Ahn's career. The entire clash between Italy and South Korea was riddled with controversy. The host nation appeared to receive many favourable decisions from the Ecuadorian referee, leaving the Italians incensed when Ahn scored his 117th minute winner, especially given the forward was playing in Serie A at the time. Since 2000, Ahn had been on loan at Perugia, signed after bursting through in Korea with Busan Daewoo Royals. In 30 Serie A appearances, he had scored 5, not prolific, but enough to justify the club activating their £1.2 million option to buy. However, Perugia's president, Luciano Gaucci, was furious with the Azzurri's World Cup exit. Shortly after the defeat, Luciano cancelled Ahn's contract, telling the media, "I have no intention of paying a salary to someone who has ruined Italian football." This wild overreaction received plenty of public backlash. Sure enough, Gaucci backtracked, announcing he had approved the transfer. But Ahn rejected the 3-year deal on offer, stating he had no interest playing for an owner who had attacked his character. At this point, it's worth mentioning that Ahn's time with the Griffins had been deeply challenging, no thanks to the club's captain Marco Materazzi. According to Ahn, Materazzi ostracised him from the team, belittled him, and subjected him to racist jibes about things including the food he ate. No surprise then he wasn't too keen on continuing in Perugia. His dispute with Perugia hampered his ability to find a new club. Quite remarkably, FIFA sides with the Italians, ordering Ahn to pay them $3.5 million in compensation for damaging them in the transfer market. Fortunately, a Japanese entertainment company stepped in to cover his debts. Japan would be where Ahn ventured next, becoming a star of the J-League before returning to Europe with Metz in France and Duisburg in Germany. In 2011, he finally hung up his boots after seeing out his career in China. 3. Vincent Péricard. Unless you have a deep knowledge of England's football pyramid, the chances are you haven't heard of Vincent Péricard. But the story that brought him to the English shores is one you won't forget in a hurry. In 2000, a teenage Pericard was snapped up by Juventus after bursting through at his hometown club St Etienne. The French media was so excited about the young forward's potential, a documentary was made about him entitled "The Man Who Will Be Worth Billions." He joined Juve along with two other French youth prospects in Aboubakar Fofana and France Bertin, and immediately made an impression, finishing his first season as top scorer of their second team. This earned him a call up to the senior side, flush with stars including Pavel Nedved and Del Piero, and a Champions League appearance against Arsenal in 2002. But then disaster struck. The story goes that Pericard, Fofana and Bertin went out for a drink and invited their Italian tutor along. However, no sooner had Pericard messaged her, he received a call from a Juventus director demanding to know why he had asked his girlfriend out. Within days, all three players had been sent out on loan, with Pericard joining Harry Redknapp at Portsmouth. He would later tell Planet Football, "I didn't know anything about England, I didn't speak English, and there were no negotiations. I was upset and hurt and didn't think I deserved it. I didn't do anything malicious, and Juventus' reaction was excessive." The Cameroon-born forward never played for Juve again. Instead, Pericard embarked on an injury-hit journey across England, featuring for the likes of Sheffield United, Southampton and Millwall. But his best years would come under Tony Pulis, first at Plymouth Argyle and then Stoke City. With the Potters, Pericard overcame a prison sentence for speeding to score 4 in 45 appearances, even playing in the Premier League in the 2008-09 campaign. However, 4 years later he dropped out of the Football League altogether after being released by Swindon Town. It was a sorry end to a career that promised so much, yet who knows what would have happened if he didn't send that fateful text. 2. Sergi Guardiola. When you move to Barcelona with a surname like Guardiola, there is always going to be pressure put onto your shoulders. It is the club that turned Manchester City boss Pep into a superstar, first on the pitch and then in the dugout, where he unleashed his tiki-taka methods to dominate Europe. Sadly for Sergi Guardiola, his time with the Catalan Giants would end almost as quickly as it had begun. Of no relation to Pep, Sergi joined Barca in 2015, being assigned to their reserves in the Spanish third tier. Up to this point, the forward had enjoyed a nomadic career bouncing around the lower divisions with the likes of Getafe B and Alcorcón, so the Blaugrana presented his biggest opportunity yet. But just hours after he signed at the Camp Nou, his dream was over. Blaugrana fans had discovered tweets by Guardiola praising Real Madrid and insulting Catalonia 2 years earlier, causing uproar. Though he claimed they were a joke made by a friend, Barcelona immediately released him. A remorseful Guardiola went onto the Spanish radio station Copy, saying, "I know I made a mistake. I apologise to Catalonia and Barcelona. I understand the decision. I'd do the same." That could have been the end of the road for the 6'1" striker, but ironically, the best was yet to come. A successful spell with Granada B and then Real Masia saw him snapped up by Cordoba for €3 million, where he would score 22 times in 40 appearances. This earned him a move to Real Valladolid and a shot in La Liga, a division he has stayed in for the past 2.5 seasons. Last term, he even scored 8 times while on loan with Rayo Vallecano, helping the Madrid minnows to safety and outperforming Radamel Falcao. Now 31, Guardiola has finally made it. His experience with Barcelona is one any up-and-coming footballer can learn from, as he isn't the first and certainly won't be the last to be caught out by the perils of social media. Honourable mention, Marcelo. Just before we reveal our final entry, we need to shout out the Brazilian defender Marcelo. No, not the Real Madrid legend, but the former Lyon star who was reportedly sold by the French Giants last January after breaking wind too often in the changing room. According to L'Equipe, the 34-year-old was guilty of letting rip during motivational team talks, while his general antics such as laughing during serious tactical discussions were considered unprofessional and irritated his teammates. He was moved off to Bordeaux, who were then relegated from Ligue 1. Marcelo has since laughed off L'Equipe's allegations. However, in August 2021, he was demoted to Lyon's reserves for behaving inappropriately following a 3-0 defeat to Angers, a game where he had scored an own goal. So perhaps L'Equipe's story isn't quite the hot air Marcelo claims after all. 1. Adil Rami. For most of his career, Adil Rami was a solid and well-respected centre-half. The Frenchman has represented a string of top clubs from Lille to Valencia, Milan and Sevilla, winning multiple honours and gaining 36 caps for France. He was even part of their World Cup winning squad in Russia. However, in what is a good piece of trivia, Rami was their only unused outfield player during the tournament. He went to the World Cup off the back of an excellent campaign with Marseille, who he had joined from Sevilla the summer before for €6 million. That season, Ahn reached the Europa League final, a game Rami played every minute of as they fell to Atletico Madrid. 2018-19 though is where things started falling apart for the 6'3" defender. Multiple injuries limited him to just 16 league appearances. Meanwhile, there was an explosion of interest in his personal life thanks to a well-publicised relationship with none other than ex-Playboy and Baywatch legend Pamela Anderson. Rami became increasingly distracted with his off-the-pitch affairs, which came to a head in the summer of 2019. First, Andre Villas-Boas announced that the former Milan star wouldn't feature in Marseille's pre-season tour of America. Then, on August the 10th, Rami was sacked, with Ahn citing gross misconduct. It transpired that Rami had missed a training session towards the end of the previous campaign, claiming an injury. Instead, he had feigned a problem so that he could appear on a French reality TV show, Fort Boyard, and was later filmed jumping around and mud wrestling with fellow contestants. After being discarded by Marseille, Rami's career quickly floundered. Spells with Fenerbahce and the Russian outfit FC Sochi went nowhere, as did his relationship with Anderson. It would take a stint with Boavista in Portugal to get his career back on track. Now 36, Rami is still going. Last summer he returned to France with Ligue 1 Boys Troyes, scoring 3 times in 18 appearances to earn him a chance of a new deal. Fair play to Rami for quite literally dragging himself out of the mud. So those were our 5 players sold for very, very weird reasons, but do you guys know of any other stories? Let us know in the comments below and let me know what you thought of this video. If you guys have enjoyed it and want to watch more, then click on screen right now, and as always guys, don't forget to like and subscribe.